They call us.
Today.
All right.
Work policy.
How are you? So it's all right. Approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes that need to be made to the agenda?
I didn't see any changes.
Sure.
No, I just like how the agenda is produced. I'd like to talk about that. It's not on the thing. It was put out at 6:30 on Friday night, and there's no way I could look at it and see what was right or wrong on it and make any comments.
Okay.
Is that normal procedure for doing things like that?
I don't have an answer on that.
Heidi, do you have an answer?
It wasn't ready until then. I was waiting on the document, and so it wasn't even finalized till then. But if you have something you want to add, we do have until Monday at 2 p.m. to make a change to
Okay,
it.
so we got till Monday on
We
it.
have to have it finalized 72 hours before the meeting. So even over the weekend, if there's something you want changed, you can reach out to me and we can still make changes.
All right, thanks. Heidi.
All right. Mr. Blank, the flag salute, Ms. Catherine application.
Oh, well, thank you.
Place your right hand over your heart and repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, I just want to come before you and thank you for all that we have, all that you provide for us. It just ask that you continue to be with each one of us on the board and on our committees as we do our best to do what's right for the hospital, for the community, for the staff, Lord. I just want to ask a special blessing on prayer for Israel, Lord, that you just be with those that are there and those that are deployed to that area. I just ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Mission statement is there for all to read. But next moment, we have public comment if there is any. Items are reserved to be addressed to the board. Seeing none. Move on to consent. Items are considered routine and non-controversial by staff. Will be approved in one motion unless a board member wishes anything to be removed.
Okay.
Which
I'd like
line
to
item,
talk
sir?
about that. That's contract review.
On which one, Jay? For Delta?
Yes,
Okay. You want that removed to discuss
I'd
later?
like to talk about it.
Okay. Let's move B5, or I'm sorry, 5B. You want to move to under new business at the end?
Yeah,
Make it number 4.
yeah,
Okay,
just a question for Bob. That's it.
no problem. Any other changes? Jean, Catherine, anything?
No, thank you.
Now, this doesn't include approving the minutes of all of last week, right? Is this approving the minutes from the previous minutes?
If it's on here, sir, yes.
Okay, then I gotta, on the, for the personnel meeting, on our meeting, I'd like to talk about that because there's things that happened that's not on there.
Okay, so item 2. On building and planning meeting minutes?
No.
The
board-
board personnel, number 6.
Sorry, thank
That's
you.
okay.
So we want number 6 moved as well. Make that number 5 under new business. Okay. Any other changes?
Let me just say as a reminder, for committee meeting minutes, the board does not approve them. They are approved by the committee. The board just receives them. So if you want to change minutes for a committee meeting, you need to do that in the committee meeting. You can remove it from this agenda, but don't take action on it because the board has no jurisdiction to approve those minutes.
Okay, so we can just remove it completely, Scott?
And take it back to our board, to the board meeting itself.
Okay, Scott,
Correct.
you're a good person right now since you're putting your 2 cents in here, and I know why. Whenever Ross tried to take over the meeting and violated the Brown Act, why wasn't it in there? I mean, that's a major thing.
I'm sorry, Gene, I couldn't understand what you were saying. When Ross did what?
Tried to take over the meeting. Telling me not to be talking about what I was talking about.
Oh, are you talking about the committee meeting?
Yes,
Yeah, I think that that's been resolved.
how's it been resolved? I
Well-
haven't seen anything. What do you mean it's been resolved?
Well, I think it's been made clear that board members who are not part of a committee should not be speaking at all during committee meetings. I think that all 5 board members got that message, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
didn't get the message.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we talked, Tim or Heidi and I talked right after it happened.
Well, you know, Russ jumped up and down and had a fit and screamed and messed with pants whenever I accidentally sent an email to all 5 board members. And he actually took over the meeting and stopped me from talking. And so how did it get resolved?
Okay, first of all, my meeting, and we finished the conversation. We didn't stop talking about it.
Well, it occurred to me that we're talking about what I was talking
Yeah, but we went back to it.
about. Okay,
So we
so,
will continue at the meeting if you want to.
okay, we'll talk about it.
Okay,
So at this point, we'll remove the minutes from the current.
No, yeah,
agenda.
just forget what I. said
yeah,
about
you
it.
can
do it.
leave the minutes on
Want the
there.
minutes to
We'll
remain,
just, yes,
okay.
and we'll
Alright,
just
then we'll
discuss
leave
that
them as-
after. Thank you.
Okay. You got it. We have any other changes to the agenda as presented? The consent, forgive me. Can I get a motion to consent? Okay, thank you, John.
I'll second.
Catherine?
Aye.
Gene? Thank you. Catherine? Aye. Ms. Shelley? Aye. And I'm an aye. Thank you. Okay. Forgive me, I lost my position, guys. Here we go. Sorry, guys. My hand doesn't. Where'd it go? Here we go. Sorry, guys. Thanks, Drew.
I hope I get a rate.
You get a rate. I won't kick you this week. Obviously, I know Ms. Hess is not here, so who's gonna give foundation and so on?
I did not receive a report from her.
That's totally unacceptable.
I agree. I want her when she gets back.
For some reason, I think she'll handle you instead. Don't worry about it.
He's too busy drinking a margarita.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
You could ask her, one to probably come in in Spanish.
All right, let's move on to medical staff, Dr. Finstead.
Dr. Finstad's report. All right, on September 13th, we had Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee. We discussed COVID-19 preparations under our old business. We also reviewed and approved 10 policies. And then the committee also reviewed and approved the T-Systems order revision for mannitol nomenclature and ordering revision. The committee reviewed and approved in addition promethazine to the formulary. The committee reviewed and approved changes to the SNP e-kit and associated documents. The committee also reviewed regular reports, which are normally blood usage, blood culture, CAPS, Merck committee, medication shortages, temperature, EOC rounds, plan correction issues, and so forth. Bioethics committee met September 19th. They discussed workplace violence in healthcare and patients dumped in the healthcare system by family. They also discussed problems in getting admitted patients transferred, and no facility will accept them. And we'll keep this on the agenda for further discussion. On September 26th, the Med Exec Committee met. Committee reviewed and approved 3 credentials files. They also reviewed and approved 11 policies. The committee also reviewed and approved changes to the medication order, which is the same one I spoke about in pharmacy and therapeutics. Committee reviewed and approved the addition of promethazine again. Also approved the SNP kit changes and reviewed their regular reports, action reports, and procedural sedation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Tim? Not report.
I don't have any.
Okay, thank you. Sure, next one's for you.
Next
CEO report.
Pleased to report that the governor did in fact sign a legislation, AB 242. This is the regulation that will allow critical access hospitals to hire physicians. We're the only group that can, other than, you know, those that have foundation models and so forth. So this was a big one for us. It was originally approved as a 7-year model to see how many would take, you know, would actually hire physicians and so forth. That was set up in concert with the Medical Board of California. So we're very happy. We've tried, the Hospital Association and the hospitals have been pushing really hard, especially the rurals, to get that approved. Because like I said, a lot of physicians coming out now that are looking for assignments want to be hired. They don't want to be 1099 in anymore and stuff like that. They don't want to set up their own practices and so forth. So that will be a big help. We received word last week that Adventist Health is actually going to be pulling out of their Premier contract for our group purchasing organization. We are a member of Premier through Adventist Health. So we are going to either need to find a new GPO or we're going to need to figure out what Adventist is doing. I have a call into the CEO at Adventist right now, trying to find out what their strategy is, what their plan is. We do know the name of the group, but I'm not sure what's going on as to why they're changing. Premier has obviously courted us in terms of wanting us to stay on with them. So we have to sit down. Dave and I have had some conversations about it. We've got a meeting scheduled, I think, for Monday to get all the departments together who'd be impacted by this purchasing issues. Make sure that we hear everybody's input on what we need to find in the new provider. Yeah.
The pharmacy is not really part of the hospital, but is that part of the program?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yep, big time. Yeah, they spend a lot of money on drugs. We want to make sure that we get someone who's
Right,
going to be able to meet those.
Being
Yeah, so we're getting.
separate the way it is.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. SB 525 is still unsigned by the governor. Had some discussion about this with the CEO. The meeting we had Wednesday night. It is expected that it will be approved. We don't know if the governor's actually going to sign it or just let it go through. We're not expecting that he will veto it. There were some issues where he was a little upset with how it came down. Apparently it's like about a $4 billion hit to the state for their state hospitals and so forth. So my guess is he may just let it go through without it putting a signature. So we'll see. He's got until, I believe, it was sent to him on the 26th of September, so he's got 30 days from that point in which to sign. So later this month. Pleased to announce that Amy Smith is now our controller. She accepted the position and very happy to have her there. Amy, you want to say anything? I'll put you on the spot.
No, just thank you for the opportunity.
She has jumped in with both feet and she's very happy to have her and doing great work. We also, one of the things, and again, I want to give Amy kudos for this, was she's restarted the daily productivity reports that we are going out now to each manager, telling them what their staffing looks like on a daily basis. You know, during COVID and so forth, you know, with loss of people and stuff like that, we lost the ability to do that and so forth. So she's reinstituted that just this week and finding those very helpful so we could sit and have conversations with the managers on a daily basis in terms of what's going on with their overstaffing, which should help us in getting our costs down. So we're also focusing on overtime utilization and so forth to see what we can do about reducing that, the tremendous expense that created. So Amy, thank you for that. The state also, the governor also signed a new regulation that will require healthcare providers to now supply 5 days of sick time. I think I've talked about it before. He did sign that bill. So that'll be effective as usually the first pay period of the year. We will automatically add in 5. It was 3 days before. They put 3 days in when COVID pandemic was going on. Now that it's ended, they jumped it to 5 days. So go figure. But so that's an additional expense, obviously, that we'll take. So it's
But
not-
everyone has that, though, it's not just the hospital.
Correct. I believe that's true, yes. Yeah.
Such as for non-benefit.
It affects everybody. But
All
primarily,
California employers.
what's that?
All California employers.
Okay, correct.
It'll work its way up to 14 days in another couple of years.
Yeah, there was some talk about it going up again, but I haven't heard much. They're just kind of letting this one go right now. We're still giving out flu shots. We still have them. They're available in the clinic. Board members need that. Greg's made those available to, obviously, to our SNF residents and patients, and also to our staff. We've been actively promoting that with our staff to get their shots. And Kern County Health Department, you know, in a meeting the other night with them, the COVID rates in Kern County are dropping. They began kind of climbing up a little bit, and then all of a sudden they've taken a nosedive down again. So and also they're saying the flu remains relatively low. As a matter of fact, at COVID, I think for the whole county, there was only like 10, 11 patients that were actually hospitalized with COVID. We had one of them.
So there's a difference between the flu and COVID, right?
Yes, 2 different organisms, but they kind of work.
Two separate shots.
Yes, that's great.
Oh, I thought they made the one.
There was one that was being developed for that. I have not heard that it's been released yet. Greg, do you know anything?
No, nothing about that.
Yeah,
So if you get the regular flu shot,
it's just for flu, yeah, right.
Okay, thank you.
So their modeling is basically showing that we're either gonna have a very mild flu season this year, or it's gonna be extremely late. And so they're kind of leaning towards that it's gonna be a very mild flu season. So that will be helpful, of course. All the CEOs were kind of like, no, we want a heavy flu season. Those are good cases for hospitals. So anyway, so it is what it is. That's my report. Thank you.
Any questions for Tim?
I just, this one, oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, I'm sorry. I was just
I
gonna.
didn't raise my hand, so go.
Sorry.
I just, I'm curious, is there a difference in the cost between those that are under 65 and the flu shot they get versus those that are over? There's a difference in the cost and
The
everything?
flu shot for the seniors or the at-risk seniors and stuff, I believe is a higher cost.
Okay,
Yes.
someone was asking me, so
Yeah.
I just,
Was significantly higher.
Yeah.
Christine's on you. That's good. You want that?
Christine, can you tell us what the difference in the cost was on the
Yes.
flu vaccines for the elderly?
she just says, yes, there's
Oh,
a
everyone.
difference, so, okay,
Yeah, I got it right here. Hold on.
all right, thanks.
Okay, so for a box of 10 doses, it was $53.58 for the 65 plus. Whereas for a box of the normal one, it's $20.44.
Oh.
So more than double.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Why would that be? Greg, I guess would be.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
there's gotta be a different formula.
2 for 2 over there.
They charge what they charge, I guess. I don't know.
It must be a different strength or something, I just,
It's a higher potency.
okay.
Thank you.
Not that I was asked if I wanted the
Yeah.
older one.
Well, another thing too is they're making it smaller, a lot more than likely to recoup their cost.
Of course, but it wasn't personal.
Heaven forbid to lose it.
Right?
John, what you have?
No, I was gonna make the comment. I actually had a mild bout of COVID over the weekend. Then quarantine. However, this one that I had was not the first. It was very mild, just energy drained.
Yeah.
All weekend. So
Did you lose your taste?
no,
Really?
not this time. No.
Headache?
No headaches, just
Oh.
very, very mild body aches and just like somebody just unplugged me. I That's the best way to describe it. So.
Craziness.
Sir,
You said this weekend, right?
your question?
I didn't have anything.
7 days.
Okay.
I did the minimum day.
Just checking.
So you
Otherwise, I would have been on Zoom.
Yeah, that's right.
Given Mr. Gordon's
I
reports to him.
am giving his report. There's 2 items to report. Transportation service has been providing greater than 9 rides per day. We are making trips to Bakersfield and Ridgecrest and actually beyond. The grant proposal was submitted to Current Health Systems, and we should hear back by 10/20. If we're approved for 2 more years of funding. We also put an additional piece in there to increase another person to primarily be a what's the word I'm looking for? Dispatcher, thank you. So that the people that are driving can actually be on the road all the time instead of sitting here waiting for phone calls to come in. So it makes them a lot more efficient. So they will do that, plus pick up some additional cost of our drivers, as well as the fuel costs and those kinds of things. So we'll hear back from that. There was a second grant submitted by Greg. Greg, I don't think I'll talk about what you put in for.
I have it on my report.
Okay, that's right, yeah, you're reporting later, okay. The second thing was we received notice from California Association of Health Facilities, the California Nurse Assistant Program, Earn and Learn, that we will be awarded $2,000 per successful graduate from our CNA program, as well as any new DSD instructors that we manage. So that's a nice plus. We can put into that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's his report.
Okay, thank you. Chief Financial Officer, Dave. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, we're gonna go through the first 2 months of the fiscal year. And there hasn't been any major surprises so far in fiscal 24. We're gonna start on page 23. And the month of August. And we're gonna start on looking at row number 6, total gross patient revenue. We fell short of budget, 9,826,000 compared to 10,599,000, 7% off budget on the overall volumes and revenues for the month. And that's kind of a similar trend we've seen last several months, slightly not terribly low, but not high enough to hit budget numbers on the revenue side. The adjustments here on row 7 for discounts is very favorable, mostly due to we put about half of the increase on our IGTs into the month of August to partially offset the ERC bonus money, so that we showed a more moderate loss for the month, but really trying to show exactly how we performed in relative terms to how we think we're going to do the rest of this year. So we did incorporate in some additional accruals. We got the good news about a month and a half ago that we had we're awarded a significant increase on our rate range IGT, about anywhere from 1.6 to 2.5 million more than what we had in the budget, what we had last year. So some of that is we're now showing some of that on the bottom line. Even though it hasn't come in yet, we're showing it on the accrual basis, just so that we tried to marry up the monthly performance to a
Can I
general
ask you a
feeling.
question about that, Dave?
Sure.
Okay, we several times we have gotten an increase because other people dropped out of it. Is there any possibility that could change to where more people come onto it, which would affect us with a smaller part of the pool?
I'm not aware of any ones that are currently eligible to participate that are not participating. The big issue for this year is one hospital dropped off. They are no longer eligible because they are part of a big system, and that a big part of that got shifted over to our benefit with a higher amount. And we Tim and I both had made a lot of phone calls to the state and other places to ensure that the legality of making sure that the facilities that were legitimately eligible for that program were in it, and ones that were not were spoken to, and right after some of those phone calls, changes were made, and all of a sudden the amounts went up over $1 million. So we felt like our efforts were paid off, that the fairness of how this program was designed to work, that the district hospitals that are truly eligible are the ones getting it, and we ended up getting a larger share this year than we had historically because of the fall off of the Tehachapi hospital.
So
that
go forward. We
Yes.
just say that we can, okay, thank you.
That one will continue.
And that was something we had assumed even back when Chet was putting projections together. That was part of the discussions when we were looking at whether we could afford the master project. We were hoping for this to happen, but until it actually happens, it becomes a certain amount of lack of confidence. But now we have a lot more security and seeing that these numbers have a higher likelihood going forward of being at least $1 million, $1.5 million higher than they were historically due to that change.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Okay, so on the expense side, I decided to show an extra column here of the ERC bonus on the salaries and benefits on lines 14 and 15. And so that total there of about 840,000 is a large part of the variance. It's about $1 million. It's still a couple $100,000 over budget. So as Tim was saying, we needed to get back to do the daily productivity reports back to the departments, because even without considering the bonus, we're not hitting budget, and it's not because of higher volumes. So we are going to be putting a lot more emphasis with the departments in managing their productivity and doing a better job in that area. We have had a couple not so good months starting out the new fiscal year as it relates to productivity. The overall total line 28 shows $1,083,000 over budget on expenses, of which 845,000 is the ERC bonus. So there's a couple $100,000 as well that is above the bonus amounts. For the month, we're showing a loss of 170,000 compared to the budget of 98, and that puts us to a year-to-date picture on the next page. After 2 months, we're at 188,604 compared to the budget of 197. So we're about 385,000 below budget so far this year. But again, none of this is as a surprise. Perhaps the negative news that we wish was better, besides the productivity, is the continued lower census that we still have in the skilled unit, and that's an ongoing area of priority that we're putting a lot of time and effort into, trying to find ways that we can get our census back up again, and we're continuing to work on that. And that is my report. Any questions or comments?
Dave, I just have one. So if I'm reading this properly, salaries and wages for the month, we were technically over budget by 165,300.
Yeah, even with the bonus, yeah. Even after that, we're still over budget. So that's where the productivity comes in, where we need to be managing to the volumes, and the departments that are not experiencing the higher patient activity probably need to be asking people to go home.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big number. That's an unsustainable.
No, absolutely. And Tim was right. I mean, that typically what you find in hospitals and at any place is people will be performing based on what is put in front of them on a daily basis. So if it's in the forefront of their mind that the CEO is saying that this is an important thing, they need to look at their daily hours, it's probably going to be managed a lot tighter now that we've got this report going again, that they're having to spend the time each day looking at their hours compared to the volume.
And looking at the daily reports that have come through this week alone, I'm already seeing an improvement in there where we're running almost every day at a positive variance on there. That's good. I mean, sometimes as much as 16 FTEs to the good. So, yeah, very pleased to see that they're responding.
The other thing, in our finance, Catherine and I, we've been looking over well, Dave is kind of fine tuning it. We used to do a productivity report when Chet was still the CFO. He's brought that. That'll kind of show us month to month, the FTEs, the volumes, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a good report to have for our FY.
Yeah, because that's a lot of money. That's,
That's a big,
yeah,
that's, I mean.
Well, and again,
that in itself can take you down.
And the other thing we've got to consider is that by June of this, which is this end of this fiscal year, obviously, we're gonna be looking at that increased $18 more than likely for minimum wage and so forth, and all the issues that are gonna have to go make adjustments above that. So we want to plan for that by getting ourselves positioned properly.
I guess I just get concerned on how do we get there? And that's that's above the increases, the funds that we got.
Correct. Big
So-
part of it, again, is controlling utilization, controlling overtime. And then, other training things that we've got going on, extra training and those kinds of things. So we're going back and looking at all that stuff. That all adds up.
Yeah,
We've added some new positions in certain places and so forth, and we've got to go back and reassess those. One of the things I know that Mark's working on right now is looking at the EKG, respiratory therapy. During COVID, we put a respiratory therapist actually in the ED. And we had him in there serving as both an ER tech or as a respiratory therapist. When the respiratory therapist needs, when they became a respiratory therapist from that point. So we actually split that up. So one of the things Mark's gonna be doing is going back to them, having them split their time between respiratory and ER tech, which actually saves us money from doing that. We're also taking a look at some of the others, ultrasound. We had made a decision about 2-3 years ago to go to 24/7 coverage for EKG techs. It's used primarily in the ED and so forth. So we're gonna have conversations with the ED physicians as to whether or not we may be able to go back to an on-call situation to have the techs come in and so forth. So I'm working with Judy on doing that for them. So we're looking at things like that to try and limit some of that hard FTEs.
And another example I can think of is HR, Human Resources have stepped up to the plate. As of January 1st next year, they are taking over the function of payroll without replacing our payroll coordinator that left a couple months ago. So that'll be a FTE savings. They said they can absorb with their existing staff and be able to do payroll under getting our new computer system, which is a much more efficient system in place. We will save an FTE with that as another example of a reduced staffing using the technology of our new computer system to benefit.
well, and January just a couple of months away. Are they gonna be up to? I mean, they're gonna have all the information. We're working on that now.
Working on that.
Been working on it for quite some time.
About a year.
Yeah, that's what I thought, so.
Yeah,
But-
there are a lot of emphasis on making sure that it's accurate to the dollar.
Right,
to the
I understand
penny,
that.
that's,
Because I know there was a lot
yeah,
of
don't want to
concern
mess
with
with people's
that.
payroll.
Right.
We've been making sure and it's taken longer than it normally should, but where we want to increase the likelihood that when we go live, it's not going to be any issues.
Yeah, and there's other things too, like I said, we, have make certain conscious decisions to try and beef up, again, we have our QIP program that Greg oversees, which is additional money to us, but we've got to hit certain performance targets with the care that they provide through the clinic and so forth. And initially we had a cap of $1.5 million for that each year if we hit all targets. That cap is now up to almost 2.5 million. So they've increased the money for that because a lot of other hospitals weren't getting involved in doing it. So there's some times that we said, listen, if we have to put more people in to help make sure that we hit the numbers to get the money, it's worth it because it'll be paid through that program, even though we're going to carry it on here. So we're going back and looking at some of those things as well.
Okay,
They may not show up today, but when the money's come in, it's obviously covered.
Yeah, that would be huge if that QIP program can go from 1.5 million to 2.5. just by, let's say, even adding an FTE or two, there obviously is a great return on investment.
Any other questions for Dave?
No, thank you.
Nope.
Michelle, John? Okay, thank you, Dave. Okay. Old business, we have none. New business. Mr. Davis? What?
This is just an update report for recruitment retention efforts. So the first section about candidates that were interviewed, two of them were relatively new. One of them, Dr. H, was we just found that this physician, he actually came up. He would be traveling from a long ways away. He just wouldn't really be a good fit for our system. We had a nurse practitioner that we extended an offer to, but she chose to decline that. I included another one on here, that's Dr. A. So he had expressed an interest earlier. He was in a financial obligation with his employer. So he ended up deciding to stay with his employer, even if we were to be able to help him out a little bit with his obligation. So anyway, that's that. I have two candidates, one PA and one nurse practitioner that I actually have scheduled for interviews, one on Friday and one someday next week. I haven't finalized that one. Another one I extended an offer to. These three candidates came to us through, actually, I think they're three separate recruiters. I also received three CVs for PAs and nurse practitioners. I think that came directly from HR. I believe that they came off of the change that we've had for recruiting, but none of them have responded to, I responded to all of them, and I haven't received any response from them. Like Tim said, I did submit our application for the current health systems provider retention and recruitment grant. And the way that this grant works is it's not free money. It's not just here's a bunch of money, see what you can do with it. It has to be in-kind participation. So we had to show that we're putting money up. We benefit obviously hugely from this. So our total, the total grant, including our participation, would be up to $618,000 if they were to award us the full grant. I'm anticipating that I'll get a response back next week, maybe asking for some modifications. But if it goes through, then probably about 400,000 of that would come from health systems. So it's a good thing. And then the last thing, I think we may have talked about this last time, that we have already completed some parity adjustments, because not only do we want to try to recruit other providers, we want to make sure that we're keeping our providers here. So we did make some modification in wages for three of the clinic providers. So that's my report for right now.
Greg, on the subsidy we're getting, it seems like Cajun's a problem. People don't want to move back and forth, go to work.
So a lot of people don't want to come to a rural community.
So
some people do, and then they come, and then it's very frequent to change jobs now. I mean, I've had this job for 25 years, which is really unusual. We have other, it's really common to stay at one position for a year, 2 years, 3 years. It's a very long position anymore, unfortunately.
But could we maybe even apply for another grant to subsidize housing to make it worthwhile? If they get into a home they like real cheap, I mean, to maybe help
We talked
stabilize.
about that. It was a little bit too complicated to build that into this grant. But if more funds come available, then we definitely can work on that.
There's still a lot of funds out there.
This is something we talked about at the Current Health Systems Board meeting this morning. Current Health Systems is considering the development of a foundation model. And so this portion of that, the rationale for that was to help rebuild physician recruitment, training for nurses and so forth to advance their careers and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, there should be additional monies coming down the pike at some point.
Oh, he's the treasurer this year.
Get right on that. So, and with the stuff that's like going on with San Dimas, doesn't anybody there want to come up? I mean, I know they're usually, you know, specialists and stuff, but it's crazy what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, dentists, doctors and vets. So get your grandkids in college, I guess. That's why I keep telling mine. A doctor, a dentist or a vet.
Yeah, that was a really big surprise when that imploded.
Yeah,
What I don't know about what you guys are talking about.
San Dimas, the medical center down there,
Yeah.
Right,
it's,
Mercy Southwest.
yeah, they're closing.
No way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're like the biggest OBGYN
Yeah.
group in
Yeah.
the county. You know, and they're just shutting down, closing doors.
I know there's a few that are going private practice, but not all of them.
No.
You know, there's people trying to get their doctors getting their patients seen as quick as they can before and give them time to find someone else, which, where do you go from there?
Yep.
So,
How do you tap into that, Greg? Like those doctors or clinicians that are looking for jobs, they've just been notified they're gonna be laid off. How do we capitalize on that?
So I don't have any mechanism for that. I'm not sure if San Dimas was partners or if these are employed physicians. And we're really looking for primary care physicians and not OBGYNs, but you know, we don't have a dedicated, you know, provider recruitment or like a recruiter, like a staff recruiter. So I meant not just for PA nurse practitioners, but you know, that would be the other thing to think about if we had our own in-house, you know, full-time recruiter that is looking for a lot of the difficult to find specialties like physical therapy, respiratory therapy, medical lab scientists, that sort of thing.
Tim, with what Catherine was describing, any of our HR folks have time to jump on this one instance where we can make some headway?
Fill the vacuum, so to speak.
Again, this is a specialty that we don't normally have here, not that it doesn't need upgraded immunity and so forth, but again, just from a volume perspective, you're probably not going to be able to sustain somebody full-time doing that.
Okay.
And certainly reach out to the group and find out what's going on, and if there is anybody that's looking for a slot, maybe we can find a way to feed them into the system.
And maybe they're qualified as a family practitioner and they're working in an OBGYN clinic. Who knows?
Yeah, well, it doesn't hurt to ask, so I'll do that.
yeah, and I don't know, I think there are nurse practitioners that are there also. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't.
Yeah, so. Anyway, that's,
Thank you.
thanks, Greg.
Yeah, thank you, Greg.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Item 2, Tricen CapEx program quarterly financials. Dave? You're on mute, Dave.
Yes, I believe it's on page 45, 43. And it starts there. I think it's a couple of pages long. It's the annual update on how the CapEx program is evolving. There's no surprises there. It's a healthy gain there of 23,822. That's about 3.5%. So that's about what we expected. And we're seeing things evolve according to the way it was put together. Nothing of any surprise, but it is our annual report showing.
Dave, I'm setting it as quarterly. Is that not correct?
Quarterly report.
Oh, I'm sorry, quarterly. Okay, that was my mistake. So do you guys want to get these every 3 months or do you want to get it just once a year?
I have no problem seeing it every 3 months.
I don't
Okay,
either.
that's fine. We will continue to do that then. Any questions?
Hospitals. Exactly. I need to find questions for Dave on this.
No, I don't have any questions.
Mr. Parker.
Nope. Good job.
Oh, yeah.
I had a question on, we have to make a funding decision at some point. Heidi, had you
That'll
Found
probably
out
be in
any information on
November.
that?
It usually happens in November. I think.
Last year when they sent it out, it was sent to you in August. I think by the time that we had seen it, it was closer to the already had sent a follow-up email, so we're probably about to reach out to David to see. But
Yeah, I've not seen anything from them either.
Okay.
at this point in time.
Because last year it was like, oh,
like
we have to
4 days.
rush. We better do this.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have much time. And so that's why I'm asking now.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Let's go to item 3, emergency department position agreement, it's 406056.
Yeah, it was time to renew our agreement with Dr. Shamus. He did ask for an increase in hourly rate. I was not able to give him what he was asking for. But we settled somewhere in the middle. And so forth. Now, we've sent this contract to him to make sure that he was okay with the changes that we'd made. And I have not heard back from him. So what I'm asking at this point in time is to approve this as this is. If he's not okay with it, then I'll have to bring it back.
my concern is that it has an October 1st start date and they already turned in like some of their stuff. We have time to process it for the.
That would be an
Is it
Amy question.
Wait, it's October 1st. Never mind.
October 1st, right, we're good.
I'm sorry.
How far off are you? Is it in here,
What's that?
what he wants and what you want?
He wanted 275 an hour. Settled on 250. I settled on 250.
What's he-
Wasn't willing to go
what's
that
he
high.
getting now, about 200?
225. So
Now, he's one of the good ones, right? They're all good, but they're.
he's the director, and so he does get other monies for that. I do plan on modifying that agreement when that one comes due. But like I said, I think this is fair. It's on the high end of fair. You know, because the other thing I had to do is I had to go back out to look at community rates and those kinds of things to make sure that we're not too far out of whack.
Can we make a motion, give you the authority to go as high as 275? And then do the best you can if you can get. 250.
Fine, I'm good with 250, but that's fine if you want to do that,
Well,
just in case he balks.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's been here for quite a while. Was that his
Yeah.
only thing was just the rate? I think
Yes.
that's-
Yeah.
Well, everything's going up. I mean, everything, even the food, you know, at your restaurant.
Our reimbursement's not going up.
Yeah.
Even the fines are going up. like state.
Right.
Tim, is this gonna drive all the other position agreements up?
The other one's already been raised.
Okay,
So we should be okay.
all right.
Any comments?
I just paid $18 for Downy. So,
Gee whiz.
So really.
yeah, yeah, $18. So, you know, that's $25 right there that he could use for laundry. So I'm just,
I'm feeling it's $140 to fill my truck, so I
yeah,
I understand.
no, everything's going up. It's crazy.
I don't like the thought of possibly losing somebody over a small amount. So I don't disagree with
Yeah, if you can-
comments if we have to
Right,
adjust.
but if you can get him at 250, then,
That's what I'm trying to
If
do.
he has to go, I think that he should have the authority.
oh yeah, we don't want to
rather than
lose him,
Keeping it.
right?
I understand that, and I agree with you. But
Do I
you know,
second
any
that
comments in
motion?
addition to that?
Do,
Sorry, Captain.
that's okay.
I want to go with Tim's recommendation and I want it to be hard. I don't want the person we're trying to negotiate with to come back and say, hey, but your board's willing to go to 275. I'm not.
Yeah, I'd rather bring it back if I had to.
Okay,
It gives me a little bit more
change my
leverage.
motion and I would
Yeah,
do it,
yeah.
whatever.
That makes sense.
The motion to accept your proposal or your.
That proposal, yes.
Well, I think it's just information.
Is it just information?
Yeah, we're not taking
Oh, we're
action.
not?
No, it should be an action then.
Said
It's a new
information.
business, so it should be an action.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It says it.
Let's just approve agreement as presented. So.
Oh,
It's
I
got
just saw
both.
information, so
Okay,
I just want to make sure.
obviously, Gene made the motion,
I'll second.
second, Ms. Kemp. Yes, Charlotte?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, yes, okay. Thank you, Tim. Mr. Parks, Delta?
Okay, Bob's not here.
Bob,
Find you.
Keep
Oh.
that in there, so.
Bob, which,
Okay. So that got missed. It shouldn't have been on this. They aren't buying anything from Delta Liquid Energy. Everything is turned over propane. We removed the last Delta Liquid Energy tank about 6 months ago.
Was that for the apartment?
It was on the new admin building.
Oh,
now the apartments,
When we bought the building, it had a Delta Liquid Energy tank on it. So I kept it for a few months. We were still heating the building while we were working it. So then when summer came and we discussed it, I went ahead and had it changed out to turn it over propane.
the apartments are different, right? Because they've got a meter on each apartment.
Yeah.
And there's only a few companies that will accommodate.
And we don't pay the bill on the apartments.
Right.
Okay.
You have to understand that that's the apartments over here.
Right.
That we lease 4 of them. Those are on propane and they're separately metered. So I don't know who they buy their gas from.
all right.
The apartments down here, 100% electric.
How is the propane? Well, I don't even know what the cost is.
It's not
I
bad.
haven't had my heater on yet.
Well, if you're buying it for the hospital, it's like $2.60 a gallon. If
Is
you're
that,
buying it for your house, it's like $4.75 a gallon.
okay, cool. Bob, thank you.
So should we then disapprove this agreement? Take it off the list? Because we don't need it?
Yeah, we don't need it. We can retire it. They did.
we just need to retire.
They just didn't catch it in accounting when they rolled forward.
Yeah.
Got various contracts that we had that we haven't been buying from them for quite some time.
Okay.
That's
So it
what I
can just
thought.
be
That's why I
retired.
wondered why they were on there.
Thank you.
Thank you for catching.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think I brought it up at finance, but I think it was Barbara's last meeting. And I think she just thought it was the apartments. or
Apartments,
something.
right. That's why I asked that.
For the
So,
last meeting, what did you guys do? I mean, as a group? Did we do something? I mean,
Not yet. We're gonna try and bring her back and do some kind of a get together.
okay, because I'll contribute to it or
Yeah.
whatever.
Specifically requested.
yeah, she
She doesn't
doesn't
want anything
want
done.
anything done at all.
Well, you know,
I-
the good ones are not gonna want it.
Yeah.
But she
Correct.
deserves more than,
Don't disagree with you. Absolutely agree.
and, but anyway,
Okay. So for what it's worth though, for Delta, we just have it removed completely, have it just retired at this point. Bob? Okay, all right. Yeah. Done. All right. Director's comments not appearing on the agenda, sir? Would you like to start?
sorry sometimes if I seem out of line, but I try to stay in line. Anyway,
Okay.
no comment.
None, no,
Nothing,
no,
Catherine.
no comments. I just am kind of curious, are we picking up a lot of lab patients? Just people that need lab services since, they're no longer doing it at,
Down at Dr. Gross.
Yeah.
There may be some coming through. The bulk of them are probably going to Westpac. They did finally reach an agreement with Westpac.
okay,
For the longest time, they didn't want to have anything to do with them, and Westpac didn't want to have anything to do with BFMC. So, but apparently they worked through their differences, and so that's welcome.
I mean, I know
It's actually cheaper.
we have picked up a few,
Yeah.
that have actually switched,
Mhm.
different insurance, whatever, so they could get,
Yeah.
because we have the capabilities of what the lab specifics
Yeah.
needed, so I was just curious if we have picked up.
Yeah, again, it's gonna be more expensive, obviously, having it done here because of our overhead costs and so forth, so.
Is there money? That's what I was getting with overhead costs. If we had more volume, we would make, I mean, is there a profit in, or is it more a need?
Well, in essence, like I said, depending upon what the test is, if it's something that we have to send out, the only thing we get is a draw fee, which is like $8. I think it was $8.42 or something like that.
How many
So-
draws can you do in an hour? Does that come? I'm just,
4 or 5.
4 or 5,
I've
so.
sat in that office for 2 hours. There are only 10 people in there.
Oh, it went back?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they're a little slow.
so I'm just kind of curious how that's impacted,
Yeah.
us at all.
Not much.
There's still drawing labs down there.
For their own patients, right.
So really the only patients, the biggest percentage of the people that they lost were patients of our clinic who had to go there because of insurance.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and yeah, the cost of us doing it here, you know, Sherry's department alone, it would be huge in doing all of her input and then the lab drawing and sending it out.
Oh, yeah.
Was not worth it.
Thank you.
Shirley? I don't have anything. Thank you.
Mr. Black, I don't have anything to do with it. Really? Yeah, I don't.
My only concern that I have is just numbers, the bottom line. And seeing that 163 number for 1 month, that's a big nut. You guys have to crack it. Yeah, we will crack it. We're
Yeah,
gonna.
I'd like to,
Yeah.
I'd like to think the 23 million FEMA will solve a lot of our financial issues if it comes in.
Well, I disagree.
It certainly solves the trucking issues, but it doesn't solve the operation.
Correct.
It's,
The operation,
It'd be unprecedented to get that kind of money for just an administrative application. That
Well, obviously, we need to control our costs or none of us are gonna be here doing this.
Absolutely.
All right. With that being said, I don't have anything else except we need to go into closed session. Thank you, everyone.
We actually don't have any updates for any of the closed session items. I don't know if Tim wants to talk about any of them, but they're on the legal side, there's no updates.
Good, me, no comments? No, no? All right. If that's the case, I guess we don't need to go to closed session. And we'll adjourn at 2:57.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're good at this, Fred.
That might be a record.
Thanks all.
Have a great day. Be safe.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks,